Everybody, welcome back to Breakfast Bob from Challenge Miami. My name is Bob Babbitt. We're brought to you by Challenge North America, City Bikes, Veneto, the Challenge Athletes Foundation, Florida Dairy Farmers, and Wahoo. Our next guest, Breno Melo, who I have not met before. Breno, how are you?
Great, Bob. Thank you very much for having me over.
You know, it's interesting. When I was reading your story, I'm like, this is so cool that this age grouper named Breno is doing this race after he's, diagnosed with a very rare joint disease called PVNS, 7 tumors removed. You're racing as a pro. You're here racing in the All-Star game tomorrow.
Yeah, I know.
What the hell?
That's incredible.
So take me through this. When were you diagnosed with this and dealing with it? How tough was that?
That was in 2016, actually. Long story short was I was training for Army in Texas in 2016. Was actually, I think, week 40 of a 42-week block, right? It was my last big week of running. I had just finished like a 28-mile run on, I think it was a Monday, because I ran the Boston Marathon as part of my training in the morning as a relay with a blind runner, which was another cool story. And then I finished with another half run in the afternoon. Went to bed, feeling great. Woke up the next morning, my leg was stiff. Couldn't bend my knee, and I was like, "What the hell did?" I felt I just overtrained.
You ran 38 miles. That might have had something to do with it. What the heck?
So so I was like freaking out. I went to a doctor, got an MRI, and then it was like, isn't it ever fun when you go back? The doctor comes back and there's another couple doctors with them. Oh yeah,
they're all looking at the X-ray
like
or the
scratching their head with it. He's like, so the guy's like, so you have PVNS, and I was like, what is this? And he wrote on a piece of paper, like, you should Google. And I was like, started freaking out, and then my knee was swelled up, and I was like, I don't know what to do, and then I got living in Boston, plenty of doctors around the area, right? So I went to a few different doctors, got misdiagnosed a few times, and then a couple of them got it right, and then it's like the only option here is operate, so they aspirated, they drain your knee, which is not fun. And then I had a surgery not knowing what was going to happen, right? The doctor literally said before I went into surgery, is like, we're either going to open your knee completely to access the tumors, or you might end up with just a arthroscopic surgery, right, where they go through the pinholes. And so I didn't know what.
But when they knocked you out, you didn't know.
Yeah, I was like, I literally woke up from surgery. The first thing I did was like, I touched my knee to
make sure it was there.
Yeah, to make sure
Oh my God.
What happened, right?
How many tumors?
7 tumors.
Oh my! And any way? How did they figure out where they came from?
No one really knows. It's a really rare joint disease that very little people know, right? So the interesting thing is, because it's considered tumor, it's a benign tumor. It's managed by an oncologist, right? Orthopedic oncologist. So, the oncologist, all they care is about saving your life, right?
Of course.
So, and then you go see a sports orthopedics, and they're looking forward to, okay, let's get back into triathlon. Want to see you running. So they said, like, you're probably never going to be able to do triathlons again. This was like May of 2016. It's like, your career's over. And then I actually sold all my stuff. I was like, okay,
really?
I sold my bike. I sold everything I had. I was like, my career's over, right? Like, and that's when I was getting good, because that year, that's when I qualified for my pro license. So that's when I started winning, the age group race.
Yes.
I was getting faster. I was seeing results.
Right.
And I was like, okay, at the same time I went good, the lights went dark.
And they couldn't get all the tumors out, right? Aren't there still 2 in there?
Yeah, so the doctor made a decision to do the arthroscopic surgery and leave 2 tumors behind, because then you would have to open the knee. And his perspective was like, maybe those won't bother you, which is true, because that was 16 and it's been 5 years later.
And they don't bother you?
They bother sometimes, It's
right.
The biggest difference that I had, I don't have the range of motion that I had before.
Right.
And, I can't run the same volume, right? Like, I got to keep my run volume like at 20 miles a week.
Right.
Every time I try to go further, my knee swells up, and then I got to take a few months off.
So you learn. The nice thing about triathlon is you compensate, right? You do more on the bike, you do more in the swim,
right?
And knowing that, and if I'm going to run 20, they got to be quality.
Right. So that's exactly what I did. I increased my bike volume, and surprisingly, it's I've been getting faster. Actually, I've been getting running faster
Because
too.
you're running less.
Running less.
I've always been a big proponent of that you use the other sports because it's all building base, right? It's all building speed. And if you can build the speed without the pounding, your running will benefit.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. And I tell people, it's like, listen, you can still get faster by running low volume, right?
Yes.
Like, and I'll tell you a quick,
Yeah.
funny story. My first half marathon ever was the Boston half marathon,
Yes.
right? Which is a big half.
Yeah.
And it was first half marathon I ever run in my life in probably 2009 or 2010. And I went there in 2019. It's like fit,
Right.
not really to run a half marathon, but as a last
Part
block.
of a training block, yeah.
Yeah, part of a training block. And I ran a 1:11 half marathon, right? Like, which for me is good.
Anybody's good, yeah.
And I was like impressed because I think it was the second non-African on that course. So
you finished 40th.
yeah, so I finished 40th. Yeah, I think it was about that. But no. So, but it was like, was a good thing for me to know that I can still, like the doctor said, we hear all the time, like an athlete goes to a doctor and say your career is over, right?
Right,
So
yeah.
prove them they are wrong, and medicine is not black and white. I think it's a magical thing, right?
Well, and from his perspective, as an average person, you will not be able to do this, right?
Right.
But you're not an average person. And most people who do triathlon are not an average person. You're going to say, okay, I can figure this out.
Right.
There's always going to be something you've got to figure out during racing and training that's going to try to compromise you.
Right, and that's been my personality my whole life, right? If someone tells you can't, I'm going to find a way to make it work, right? Like,
so what's been your best race, your best result you think you've had?
I think my best result was in Xi'an, China.
Yeah.
In 2019.
What'd you do?
I did well. They canceled the swim because it was a torrential downpour. I think I did 3:32 or 3:39. Actually, it was funny because I tied it to the second with another Elliot Batch, I think.
Okay.
We tied in the same exactly time, but because it was a time trial start, we didn't know where everyone was.
Oh, right.
But like when we crossed the finish line, we were like perplexed. We're like to the second, we had the same finish time. But it was a great race, it was the torrential downpour, the roads were flooded, and it was just, it was a cool experience. Yeah, it was a cool, racing China is kind of unique.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was, I think that was, it was a top 10 for me, which, that's always
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, so that was I think, but I hoping I can continue to improve, right?
Exactly.
But yeah, that was a
top 10 here would be pretty good.
Yeah, I was thinking about that back in January before they
kept adding down for Breno and guys like
everybody
that.
else. I was like, oh, maybe there's a chance here.
So what'd you think of have you ridden the course?
I rode the course this morning. Yeah.
That's pretty different, huh?
Yeah, it's cool. It's funny because living in Boston, I haven't been outside since probably October. My whole train's been indoors.
Yeah.
And I'm a huge fan of Zwift, right? So I ride on Zwift a lot. I actually do a lot of Zwift racing. And riding this course today, and especially
you feel like you're on Zwift.
It feels like I'm on Zwift, right?
With all the turns.
Yeah, and
all
it's
the
like the laps, right? Like the Zwift races, you're doing like, a bunch of laps. So it was like, maybe I just got to put in my mind, it's not the Zwift race.
It's another Zwift race.
Right, so.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because we've heard a couple different things where people are like, oh, you're not going to be able to get away because of all the curves. It's going to slow people down.
Right.
And at the same time, you're going, well, is this a strong person's course? Because look at the wind right now, and it's like it's noon, and you guys are going to be going off at what, 2, 3?
3:15.
Yeah, 3:15. It'll be pretty windy.
Yeah, it's going to be warm too. I think the last time I saw this temperature was in July last year.
Oh, that's right. Especially your skin hasn't seen sun forever, so this is going to be a new thing for you.
Yeah, exactly. But being from Brazil, I think kind of helps a little bit.
It does. So besides racing as a pro, what else do you do?
So I work full time. I work in sales. It's a remote job, which kind of helps. But it's like I was telling someone this morning. It's like it's not like you go to an office, so it's a job that travels with you, right? So this morning we were doing like conference calls for work. It's like it's a never-ending thing, right?
Right.
Which I love. I love my job. I love to have a busy schedule.
Sure.
But it just adds that level of complexity, right?
Right.
To the
things.
The
the fact that you've gone through what you've gone through, and 7 tumors removed, and told you're never going to run or ride again, and you're racing tomorrow against the best people on the planet, you should probably send a little note to those doctors and say, hey, why don't you watch me tomorrow racing in the All-Star game against some of the greatest triathletes in history. P.S. I am running and riding.
Right. Maybe we should send this video to them, right?
You send them this interview and say, listen, this is to let you know that, maybe sometimes you should let people know that they can do something. Don't tell them no. Depending on how hard you work, you could turn this around.
Yeah, no, I agree. And, I tell you, when I first got diagnosed, and you're going online because it's a rare disease and not a lot of people give you a lot of information, right? So you're Googling, right? You're trying to learn yourself about what you have. And you see, like, online, you usually see a lot of bad stuff, right? Not a lot of people are going to go online to say, oh, I
it's no problem.
Yeah,
I'm back out. Yeah, I'm running the marathon
It's
tomorrow.
like restaurant reviews, right? People are not going to compliment. And it was, like, very sad to see how the limitation people got from this disease. So I hope, someone sees this and, sees that, like, there's a lot
there's
in
hope.
it. Yeah, there's hope, right? Like, it's not like what the doctor says, right?
It's what you want.
It's what you want, yeah.
I love it.
Very true.
Pleasure to meet you, Breno.
Same, yeah. Thank you very much,
I
Bob.
love it. Breno Melo has been our guest, everybody. Again, Breakfast with Bob, Challenge Miami. Hold on. We'll be right back.